me and AJ started the work that we do because we realized that law enforcement needed to improve our relationships within the community. We acknowledge that not everybody in law enforcement is perfect, but what baffles me is that people want law enforcement to be accountable, but yet they don't want to be accountable to their own actions. There's always an excuse to why they make a mistake. Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the It's Needed podcast, where we discuss real issues involving law enforcement in the community. It's your boy Ryan Tillman, founder of Breaking Barriers United, and I'm joined today by the light-skinned wonder himself, Mr. Oh No, it's the Popo. What's up, Brody?
What up? Hey, it's Monday. It is Monday.
It is.
I'm excited for the week.
It feels like Monday, I'll tell you that.
For some of us, I mean, it's early, pretty early your way. It's early my way, but it's really early your way.
Golly, man. We're also joined by the savage himself, Billy. What's going on, Brody?
Crocked and ready to rock.
Oh, here you go.
He's been planning that for like.
I thought about it on the drive over here.
He's like,
you got him in 4-wheel drive mode.
He's like, I got a phenomenal entrance today, bro. I can't wait for Ryan to say, we're also joined by Billy because I got something for that.
Been waiting.
And he got a new nickname. Billy's new name is SB. Skinny Billy.
Oh yeah,
that's
he is
Skinny
skinny
Billy
over there. Those shirts looking kind of big on him. So that just means you need to get in the weight room.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, Billy, how many pounds you down?
I'm down 15 as of this morning.
Oh, let's go.
As of
15 pounds.
As of this morning. That's good stuff, man. Well, man, it's a good day to be awake. It's a good day to conquer the world again. There's a lot going on in our country. A lot going on in our world, for that matter.
In the world, yeah, for sure.
I just, it's funny. I was talking to, though I took the wife to Vegas for her birthday, and we flew in on Friday, and then we flew back on Saturday. So it was a short trip. Shout out to all the people that did recognize me on the way. There was an airport going. The lady that works for TSA
Nice.
follows the podcast, so shout out to her if she's listening. Then shout out to some lady that was walking to the casino and she recognized me. So shout out to all you guys that follow and listen. Like I said, if you ever see me, AJ or Billy out and about, please say something because it does mean the world to me. It just and it also makes me feel like real on cloud nine when it's right next to my wife. I'm like, hey, babe, boo,
just get used to it, babe. Get used to it.
Your boo's doing big things right here, babe. What you want me to say? So even though I paid you as soon as we walked around the corner, I paid you $20 to do that for me. I appreciate it.
Have you had an awkward one yet? Like an awkward encounter?
I always have awkward encounters because when people say, because like they'll say they'll be like, hey, what up, Ryan? Like they know who I am.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if I know them from personally. I don't know if I know them from. I don't know them, so it's awkward.
I always hit it with the "What's up, brother?"
Yeah, exactly. I was like, "What up, bro?" So it's always awkward for a split second, just because I don't, Sometimes, and then the ones that say really quick, hey man, what's going on, man? I follow the podcast, man, I appreciate you because now you let me know from the gate, okay, where our relationship is at. Yeah. The ones that don't do that, oh man, you be having your boy going through it in his mind because I'm like, man, do I know him from somewhere?
Did I fight this person in high school?
Yeah, exactly. Did I arrest this person?
I legit had a stalker, like a real life stalker, and I can't share the details because that person probably listens to this. No. But like a legit stalker to where I had to have Jones run interference and I had to sneak out the back of a building.
Yeah, I ain't had it like that.
Yeah, it was bad. It's real bad.
That's some Hollywood stuff right there. We're gonna start calling you Hollywood.
Yeah, and there was let me think how to say. There was a portion of the event that was invite only. So it was nothing but the mayor, city council, the governor, all these politicians, bigwigs, CEOs there. And this person snuck in and was sitting at the head table, chit chatting with one of the bigwigs. I walk in, I'm like,
oh,
yo,
wow.
What's that person doing?
Wow.
They not supposed to be.
Crazy.
Yeah, it was wild. It was wild. So I had to pull Jones aside and be like, hey, cold blue run interference for your boy.
Time to go, bro. Time to go. Yeah. So yeah, man. So anyways, we were in Vegas. It was cool. And then when we went shopping on the way back, And we were in one of the stores, and as we were in one of the stores, I was talking to the sales lady, super nice lady, and she was just like, she was like, I'm from Romania. That's where I'm originally from. She said, I've been here since like the late 80s. But she was like, what's scary though right now was like, she was like, when I left Romania, it's a communist country. And when things start going bad, the people started relying on government more. So then the government will start giving out money. They will start doing all these different things. And then she was like, as they start giving out money, then the citizens started becoming more dependent upon the government. And so she was like, so looking at our country, looking at the United States, she was like, it's very scary because there's a lot of similarities that are going on here that were going on back in her country that she fled from. And so she was like, I could tell this lady was a believer, super, super nice lady. I actually got her number just because I was like, you're going to be my contact when I come back to the store from here on out. Your boy always got to get the connect. But anyways, it's just so that's crazy. So I brought that up because just from world news, world events going on, man, there's a lot going on in Afghanistan right now. We're approaching the what do you call it? Anniversary for 9/11.
Oh yeah, yep.
So I think if you guys listen to this and you guys had any direct involvement in 9/11, let us know, man. I would love to have you on as a guest to commemorate the 20th anniversary of 9/11. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on my end. But Bruno Mars was a success. My man killed.
Oh, you went to a Bruno Mars concert when you was down there?
Yeah, it was
nice,
bro. He kills it, like. No doubt about it. Like probably one of the best concerts I've ever been to. Me and my wife were dancing the whole time.
Nice.
The whole time.
Y'all probably had like the VIP. Y'all was probably on stage with them.
Yeah, right.
24 karat
We did have a good
magic.
seats though. We did have good seats. So shout out to my guy that hooked me up with the good seats. We had great seats.
Nice. You a gambler?
Hey, bro, your boy won $500, bro. As soon as it
What'd you play?
Blackjack.
Okay. So
I hit like real quick too. Like it was funny. The whole that story, but it was so funny. So when we got there, we got to the hotel and we were like, we don't really have that much time to go out like we wanted to before the concert started because the concert started at 9. So I was like, I need an energy drink. I need to go get some caffeine or something since we're gonna be up a lot late. So my wife was like, all right, cool. Like you go do that. I'm gonna start getting dressed. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna probably play some games.
Oh yeah, for sure. Too. Yeah.
So my wife was like, no, like we didn't come here for that. Like we came here to go out. I'm like, all right, babe, whatever. So, anyways,
so later at the blackjack table.
So check it out. So check it out.
5 minutes later.
Yeah, 5 minutes later. So anyways, I snuck out. I didn't sneak out. I went downstairs to go get some like a energy drink. And so I was walking past the blackjack table. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and play me a little bit of blackjack. So like 10 minutes later, bro, I came back with like $130 or something like that. Like I won real quick. So then I went back up to the room. My wife was like, what took so long? And I showed her like the little voucher. It was like $130. What you know about it? So she started laughing and smiling. So then just later on that night when we left the concert, she wasn't even tripping on your boy going back to the table. So then that
she's like,
night,
go ahead, get that money.
Yeah. So that night I won like another almost $400.
Nice.
And so she was like, oh, I like watching you play. I was like, you like watching me play because I'm winning. If I was losing. So it was cool though, man. So yeah, I won about $500.
Nice. Did I ever tell you the story my first time in Vegas? It's a good one. I'll make it quick. So I fly out to Vegas with my homeboy who went to Vegas or goes to Vegas all the time, right? So he's like a pro. So he books the rooms. He's like, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to hit these spots. Got the whole thing laid out, right? So we fly out there. We got there probably like 2 hours before check-in. So we couldn't check in yet. So we got our luggage. I'm like, man, what we going to do? He's like, what you mean we going to gamble? Like, we going to, gamble until we can check in. So I'm like, all right. So growing up, I shot dice. Like
you hood.
Like that's just what I did,
gamble.
right? Like, yeah, we shot
gamble.
dice and we played Tunk. Like those are the 2 games we played, all right? So I'm like, where the dice table at? So he's like, well, I'm just let you know, like dice is different at the casinos than it probably is how you play it on the street. So I was like, well, it's got to have some similarities, right? Like I could pick it up probably easy. So he's like, all right. So we go over to the dice table or the craps table, excuse me. And I think I brought I don't know. We'll just say I brought like $400 to gamble while I was there, right? And, you know, had that money set aside. If I lose it, I lose it. If I win, I win, right? Bro, within an hour and a half, I probably had $40 left to my name, bro. Like, so, and we ain't even check in yet, bro. Like, we literally are just there, right? So I'm salty. I'm like, yo, this is gonna be the worst trip ever. I'm never coming back to Vegas. So he's like, man, let's just check in. So I'm like, please, because I need to take a nap. So we get in line to check in, and my buddy was like, ooh, he's like, I hope we get this girl to check us in. There's like a younger female black. And I'm like, what you talking about? And he's like, man, we could just like talk to her, like, you know, like charm her a little bit, and then like maybe she'll bump us up, like upgrade our room. And I'm like, yeah, they could do that? He's like, bro, they got the juice. So I was like, I'll say less. Sure enough, she's like, all right, y'all could come up, the female black. So I'm like, yes, sir. So I walk up to her. I'm like, hey, how you doing? She's like, I'm doing good. She wasn't really having it, right? Like not wanting to talk to me at all. So I hand her my ID, and she's like, Ohio. She's like, oh, I'm from Ohio. I was like, oh yeah. I was like, that's what's up. And she's like, where are you from in Ohio? And I'm like, oh, I was like, trust me. I was like, you'll never heard of it. And she goes, try me. And I say the small town where most of my family is from. And she kind of looks at me and she's like, hold on. She's like, what's your dad's name? So I tell her. She's like, what's your mom's name? I tell her. And she's like, well, what's some of your relatives up there? So I tell her, bro, we're cousins, like legit blood, like second cousins. Wow. So she's like, what? She's like, we are cousins. She's like, my mom is blah, blah, blah. We like piecing it together. And I'm like, hold on. So you know Nanny? She's like, yeah, I'll be chilling with that, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, wow. So she bumps us up, like gives us like a suite, gives us like this envelope with like all this, like these coupons and like casino cash that you could like only spend on the resort. So like when we go to the pool, we give like this voucher and that, you know, they bring some drinks or whatever. Bro, when I tell you, we won so much money that trip, like it immediately turned around. Like it got to the point where we would shoot dice on one table and win so much money that we would leave, and everyone around that table would leave the casino with us and go to the next one with us. That's how it is. I mean, there was just a crowd following us. I'm smoking like cigars, like I'm Rick Ross. It was insane. Insane. I bought 2 pairs of shoes, a bunch of outfits, upgraded to first class. Like it was like,
how much money? Much money do you think you won?
I know I came back with like, I want to say like $3,000 cash in my pocket, and I probably spent every bit of a couple thousand when I was there, bro. Like I mean, it was insane.
They say you need to spend to win, bro. And so you know, when I was playing the blackjack table, it was a $25 buy-in, but I was playing like $50 a hand. So.
Oh yeah,
and I was hitting. I was hitting, but it was fun. But on the flip side of that, like the day I left, that was the day I lost. I lost like $100 of it, and I'm sitting at but I only went downstairs with $100. It was like, if I lose this, I'm not losing anymore.
Yeah, smart.
And that's so smart. I'm sitting at the table, and these 2 girls come and sit next to me, and they start playing, and so they kept losing. So then she kept opening up her wallet, giving them more cash, lost that. I wanted to be like, hey, you might want to chill. You already showed up at this table having lost and trying to recover your money. That's how they get you.
You digging in deeper?
You digging in deeper, bro.
Hey, you know it's bad when you hit the ATM though. That's a whole, when you like, hey, hold my seat, I'll be back.
Yeah, so that was what was a lot different this time around, bro. Is like, I'm a lot more mature. I hit the casino a lot more mature than I was. I mean, bro, I was 21 going to, I was 18 when I moved out to Vegas. So, I mean.
Oh, yeah, I forgot you lived out there. That's right.
Yeah, man. So, but it was good, man. Good trip. Bruno Mars puts on a phenomenal show. You can't take your phone inside, which actually was kind of cool. It's kind of bittersweet because, you know, you wanted to record everything inside, but he couldn't. And then he actually
did. Did you lock it up?
Yeah, they had like these little pouches that you put your phone in, and they're magnetized, and you can only take it off with a magnet. And so the whole show, you have your phone with you, but you can't you can't take it out of the pouch. So he does like this little funny rendition. He's like, I took your phone away. So it was cool, man. And Alex Rodriguez actually was like right in front of us.
So you had good seats.
Nah, we weren't on the floor, which quite frankly, I think we had better seats than the floor, because the
floor seats are kind of whack sometimes.
Yeah, because you got to stand up. If somebody stand up in front of you, can't see. So we were in the stadium seats right behind the floor.
Yeah, so, those are normally the best seats.
Yeah, so it was good, man. Good trip, man. Good to be back. It was good to go out on a date with my wife for, 24 hours and then come back. So, but anyways, man, what else is new? What's going on in the world right now? What's going on in the world of policing?
Oh man, I don't know, to be honest with you, man. My father-in-law came over yesterday. And he's like, man, have you been watching the news about everything going on in Afghanistan? And my wife immediately cut him off, and she was like, the news is never on in this house. Like, She's like, don't even come over here and ask if we watch the news. She's like, it's never on. So yeah, you would know much more than I would, and Billy would know much more than I would. Like, as bad as that sounds, like, I'm in a state of positivity and bliss, and I am not welcoming like that negativity into our household right now. So
no, that's as you should, and it's sad to say that we've gotten to that place, just because, it's one of those things where, like, back in the day, you would pick up a newspaper and you would actually be able to see local news and stuff like that. And and the news at one point was like a trustworthy source. At least we thought it was. Yeah. But now it's so blatant with lies, and, depending on the political party that you identify with, you're going to hear news that is tailored to your political party's ideations. Yep. It's not like they're delivering an unbiased view of just what's going on. Everything is tainted. And so that's what's unfortunate when we look at the news, is you don't know who to believe anymore. And so going back to that lady that I was talking to from Romania, she's just like, we're living in scary times in this country. We are becoming, a socialist communist country, and people think they want that, but that is not what they want. So, but I do have some news about policing that I wanted to discuss this morning. I don't even know if I should give this lady airtime, but
well, don't say her name.
Yeah, I'm gonna give her. I'm not giving her airtime. So for all my people that are listening to this, I don't want you guys to think that I'm giving this lady airtime because, she deserves it. That's by no means why I'm gonna give her some airtime right now.
Oh man, hold up. Oh man, I think I know where you're going with this. About to piss me off.
I know, but the reason I'm gonna play it is because this needs to be discussed, and so the reason I am gonna give her airtime is because there are probably people that have not heard this. And sometimes there's things that we need to hear because it should piss us off enough to want to stimulate us to go out there and do some action. And sometimes it's okay to get pissed off in a healthy way. And so right now I'm going to piss some people off that are listening to this, but it's going to be healthy because sometimes we need to get unseated. We need to go out there and we need something to fuel us to be change agents within our community. We need our fires need to be lit. And so sometimes when we avoid it, sometimes avoidance is okay, but we can't always avoid everything. And so the lady, what I'm about to play is an excerpt of the lady whose kids killed Officer Ella French in Chicago. Yep. And what she said was just deplorable. It was despicable. Lady is it's just it's terrible. It's terrible. And so, but I want us to listen to this because that's going to kind of set the tone for the rest of this podcast episode. So let me play this.
To be a voice for my boys, Eric and Monty Morgan. I want you to know I love you and your family loves you and you not alone. Know that shit. For everybody else, I just want to simply say there is another side, and my boy's side is not being told right now. I cannot speak too much on it, but I will say this. Don't believe everything you hear and see. It's fictitious. And there is another side. My boys are not monsters, what people trying to paint them to be. At all. There is another side. I don't believe a damn thing CPD says. And I can guarantee you this. My boys was afraid. I'm afraid. Our young black women, not only young black women, young black men, like I just said, I'm afraid. Adults are afraid of the CPD. And I'm clean. I'm not a criminal. My car is clean. I got insurance, all of that. But if a cop get behind me, my heart drops. We fear our police here. Unfortunately, we fear them. We don't believe in them. We don't trust them. They get behind us. Our hearts drop. We scared. That's just the reality of it. Whether people want to hear that or not, I don't give a damn what people want to hear. I need to be a voice for my boys. And that's all I got to say. Let me get in this hospital to see my damn son. Open this motherfucking door. Amonte Morgan, my son.
Was there a security guard?
I want to see my son.
Oh, hold on.
Monty! Monty! Don't touch me! Get away from me!
So that ending part was her going to the hospital, forcing her way into the hospital to see her sons and running towards police, the people she supposedly is
afraid of.
You know, but there's just so much in that video that I wanted to unpack because, and again, I'm not giving her airtime for the sake of publicizing her. I'm giving her airtime because there's a lot of issues that are in her statement that are issues amongst a lot of different communities that she brings up that are completely wrong and fictitious. And so the first thing is that she says that her boys aren't monsters. Well, sorry, ma'am, your boys are monsters. The moment they decided to, you know, take the life of Officer French and attempt to take the life of her partner made them monsters. I'm sorry. And, you know, I'm not saying that you can't have redemption one day, but their act in the moment of what they did was monstrous. And that's not, you know, we can't deny that. And it's terrible. And the other part of that I want to bring up before I turn to you, AJ, for your initial thoughts were, you know, it's funny how people all of a sudden want to say there's another side or there's more to it when it comes to somebody that you love. But when we talk about police incidents all the time, nobody wants to hear the side of the law enforcement officer. Mm-hmm. They immediately want to take the side of the person that put out the initial video or the person that's seen at the other side of law enforcement. So it's kind of interesting how all of a sudden, you know, there's another side, you know, there's more. They're not telling you this. And so that kind of also pissed me off just because I'm thinking like, convenient. I wonder what she was saying before this event occurred about police. I can guarantee it wasn't positive. So what's your initial thoughts, AJ and Billy, and then I'll kind of give you the rest of my thoughts about this.
So 2 weeks ago, I get a call from a mother of one of like the kids that I've like mentored. And I've mentored this kid for, I don't know, we'll say 6-7 years. And it hasn't just been him. Like it's been his group of friends, and he was kind of like by proximity, right? Like I started pouring into these two kids, and then he was friends with these guys. So he was just kind of by proximity, and he was always a knucklehead, right? And like to the point where I've had to take him home a couple times, had heart-to-hearts with his mom, which is how she had my cell phone number or whatever. So she calls me 2 weeks ago. And I'm in training. So, I step out, I pick up, cause she never calls me unless it's like, something going on. And she's crying and she's like, hey, she's like, I need your help. She's like, blank was arrested. And I'm like, okay, for what? And she's like, well, they said he had keys to a stolen car. He wasn't even in the car. He had keys to a stolen car. And then he ran from police, and then he got into a fight with the police. And then they said he had a gun. So I go, okay, you're already messing up, right? By they said, yeah, they said instead of he, right? Like no he had, right?
No accountability,
right? You're already morphing the story because you have keys to a stolen car. They ain't really gonna care about it. But if they saw you getting out of a stolen car, they got you in a car. It's a little different, right? So I go, well, where did it happen? She tells me where it happened. I'm like, is it on camera? She's like, yeah, I think it's on camera, but I don't think it's ready yet. Which it's ready, right? If I want to watch it, it's ready. But anyway, she was like, well, can you talk to the judge? She's like, can you talk to the judge about his character? Basically saying that you're like a mentor. You've been like a father figure to him for X amount of years, and that he's a good kid. And I said, well, let me think about it. So I give it a day. I call her. I talk to her a little bit more. And what I realized is that she was lacking accountability for her son. And due to that, I told her no. I was like, I'm not going to do it. Like this you both have to learn from this experience. Like he has to learn that everything that he did was wrong, and you have to learn that your son ain't perfect, and you have to hold him accountable in this situation. So she's upset, and she ain't talked to me since, and I talked to him via a second party, another kid that I talked to, and he feels some type of way, but he understands that he messed up. But it's like, at the end of the day, like, we have to realize that our kids ain't angels, and our kids are going to make mistakes. And when you constantly cover up for your children and make excuses for them, it only enables them to continue with that behavior and or make it worse. And that's exactly what she's doing. My kids aren't monsters. Yeah, what your kids did was a very monstrous thing. Like, I hate to break the news to you, but like, your children killed first responders. Like, your children killed who I consider to be heroes in one of the most dangerous cities in America. That's a very monstrous act. Like, I hate to say that to you. And the fact that you're doing that in this extreme of a situation only tells me that this has been your behavior probably the entire time that they've been alive. The entire time that they've been alive, which does what? Allows them to continue that behavior.
Yep. You're an enabler. And so me and AJ started the work that we do because we realized that law enforcement needed to improve our relationships within the community. We acknowledge that not everybody in law enforcement is perfect. That's what you call accountability. But what baffles me is that people want law enforcement to be accountable, but yet they don't want to be accountable to their own actions. There's always an excuse to why they make a mistake. There's always, well, this, or, they said I did this. How do you expect law enforcement to be accountable for its own actions when you don't want to be accountable for your actions? And we've talked about this before when we talk about a lot of uses of force, and you said this so perfect one time. I bet you a majority of the uses of force that we see could have probably been avoided if somebody would have just complied. Well, what's compliance? Compliance is also accountability. To saying, you know what, I messed up. I shouldn't be doing what I'm doing. My bad. That right there, that small little piece could have probably saved a tremendous amount of lives on both sides. But because we're not accountable, but because we don't comply, it forces the hands of officers to now have to utilize force in order to overcome resistance or overcome or effect an arrest. But yet, nobody wants to be accountable for the actions that they did towards those officers. And so that's what makes me so upset when I hear this video from her is like, initially when I first saw it, I was thinking she was going to say something to the effect of, my heart goes out to the officers that were killed. My heart goes out to the families, that these aren't the boys I raised. I'm still going to love them. I'm still going to support them. But this isn't something that, I would have ever expected them to go out there and do something like that. But there was no empathy. It lacked all empathy. There was no remorse. And then we wonder why those kids made that decision, or I don't want to say kids because they weren't kids. We wonder why those adult boys made that decision to go out there and take the life of Officer French. Well, the apple don't fall too far from the tree. The second thing I really wanted to highlight in what she said was this whole idea that she's afraid of CPD. And there are so many people out there that use a fear of police as a cop-out.
Yes.
I'm just going to call it what it is. A lot of people will use the fear of police as a cop-out. Now, I'm not here to say that some people don't genuinely have a fear of police. There are probably some people that have a genuine fear of police, no doubt about it. But a lot of those fears are stimulated by what stuff that this lady says, by what pop culture tells you to fear the police, to do this, to do that. Some of us have had some bad experiences with law enforcement. I have myself. I'm sure AJ has. My family members have. But it never really instilled such a fear that I have of police that I feel like I'm not going to be able to live if I talk to one of them. And that's one of the things that goes back to compliance. As long as I comply, there's no reason I should be fighting with police in the first place. There's no reason I should be trying to run from police in the first place. And so as long as I'm not doing any of those other things, I should never give police officers a reason to have to fight me or to have to pull their gun out on me. And so at the end of the day, what it comes down to is we have to be accountable, and we got to get away from this whole pop culture of I fear police. Lady, did you really fear police? Because if you fear police, I doubt that you would have just ran into a hospital causing chaos, causing a scene where police are at. Lady, if you really feared police, do you think that your sons would have pulled out a gun and shot 2 first responders if they were really fearing police? It's funny how we all feel there's this whole idea that we fear police, but yet we want to be the first ones to argue with police. We want to argue our case at the side of the road. We want to, if they pull us over, and now all of a sudden we want to go to town and talk about why they wrong. It's funny how we fear police, but we are not fearful of pulling out our phones and getting all up in the officer's face and surrounding them and putting it on World Star or putting it on IG. If we fear police that much, why are we in the space of officers while they're trying to conduct an investigation? That's what baffles me, is like your actions are completely contradictory to what you say you believe. You say you believe that, the police are scary, the police are animals, but yet your actions show different, because your actions show you putting yourself right next to the police. Like if I fear a lion, I'm not going to go and get in a lion's den, but yet what your actions are showing is, I fear lions, but yet I'm going to go get in the lion's den with them. That's what it makes no sense to me. And so I bring that up because she continues to perpetuate a stereotype of this false reality that police are so dangerous, but yet she goes out there and puts herself right in the faces of police and in a confrontational manner. So did you guys get that part as well? Like as you guys watched that video from her?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the whole video is contradictive. Is that a word? Contradictive? Mm-hmm. Like she starts off, you're exactly right, by saying like, I'm so scared. And then at the end of the video, she's like bum rushing through the police. Like, you know what I'm afraid of? I don't know if I ever publicly admitted this. I'm afraid of lightning. Like, I don't want to get struck by lightning. I have an irrational fear that I'll get struck by lightning. So you know what I don't do when it's raining and storming? I don't go outside. I don't go outside. And if I have to, it's quick. Right? Like if I got to go from point A to B, I'm running. You ask anybody that's been in a storm with me, hey, I ain't talking to you in this rain. We could go inside and we could talk. I'm afraid of lightning. I'm not messing around. And guess what else I'm not doing? Storm chasing. I'm definitely not looking for the lightning. And that's when it really gets interesting, is for me to say, I'm terrified of lightning. Y'all want to go chase a tornado? Like, what sense does that make? But that's exactly what this lady is doing right here. And it's not. And it's normal to have a fear of law enforcement. You know why? Because part of an authoritative figure is instilling fear. And that fear doesn't have to be, I'm going to beat you up, I'm going to kill you. That fear could be, I'm going to get grounded, or I'm going to get a ticket, or I'm not going to be able, like, right? So like, think about your parents growing up. Like, they're your authoritative figures. You fear them in a sense, right? Like, they might not beat you. They might not have ever put their hands on you. Fear. It's a healthy fear. If I do what I'm not supposed to do, or what I know that I'm not supposed to be doing, X, Y, and Z will happen. I'll have to stand in the corner. I'll get my PlayStation taken away. Like, that's a fear. So it's normal to have a fear of an authoritative figure. But when you use that as an excuse and a crutch for your irrational and irresponsible behavior, that's when the issue starts. That's when the issue starts. When you go, I was scared, that's why I did this, knowing dang well that's not true. No, that's the issue here, and that's the issue we've been facing for a while now.
It's a cop out.
That's the new trend. I was scared, that's why I didn't stop. I was scared, that's why I reached for my gun. I was scared, that's why I fought with the police. I was scared, that's why I resisted arrest. Like, if you're truly scared, your best thing to do is what? Comply. Comply. Now, other than the police officer just continually to punch and stomp on you while you're complying, I don't see any other reason to not comply.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not. And again, I want you to understand, there are some people that legitimately have a fear of police, a legitimate fear of police, and I understand why. Because when that's all you see being perpetuated on social media and perpetuated on all the news, I understand why you have that. But just because that's what you see doesn't mean that's what's reality. And sometimes there have been some dangerous situations where people responded in a fear of police that were dangerous for not only that person, but the officer. I mean, we had a good friend of mine, Leon, on here. And Leon, in his description of how he was shot by police, and what he said is he was in fear. And I don't doubt, I mean, Leon is a good dude. So I don't doubt Leon at all that he was in fear, and it caused him to react in a way that also prompted the response of officers to utilize lethal force against him. So I don't doubt that. So I'm not trying to sit here and say that, people don't have a legitimate fear of police. No, there's probably a legitimate fear of police, but for illegitimate reasons, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And even during, not to cut you off, but like even when Leon was on the initial one, like I even asked him, like we could go back and listen to it. Like, well, do you think you should have done that? Like, do you think that your actions caused these officers to do X, Y, and Z? So,
yeah, and
I don't know. Like, I'm afraid of a handful of things, and I know how I act around those things, and it's never an aggressive behavior towards those things.
Yeah,
it's always I'm afraid. Yeah, I'm afraid of that.
But see, and that's what. So me and my wife, we were watching a video last night, and we were watching. What school was it? It was. Let me pull it up because I'm gonna forget this. It's a historical black college, and it was very cool. I saw it on IG or whatever, and what it was they do a welcoming ceremony for all the black kids, or not all black kids, all the students, the new students. I said black kids because it's a historical black college. My bad.
Billy was like.
Billy said, "Yeah, interesting." No, they do a welcoming in for all of the new freshmen that are coming in, and so here it is right here. It was Morehouse. That's what it was. So it was Morehouse, and so it was a huge gym full of all these students, and in all the seats, there's all the freshmen, and all the upperclassmen. They come in, they do this like ceremony. For like the new students, and it's all black people. It's all black people. It's a black college. Not to say that I have seen white. Billy would be the white guy that goes to a black college. Like I can see that.
Without a doubt. Yep.
It's funny. I used to watch like the bands and the marching bands. You'd always have that one white guy. He was always a tuba player. I don't know why he was a tuba player, but but anyways, so
Crocs.
Yeah, with the Crocs on and everything. But anyways. And it's funny because the black people love that white guy. They like just love he's like the life of the party.
Oh, you gotta embrace him. Yeah, for sure.
He's like the life of the party. But anyway, so in this situation, it's cool because you're seeing black male adults going to school, getting an education. I think in part of the entry, all of them were carrying Bibles. It was part of the ceremony. And it's for those of you guys that aren't familiar with historical black colleges were created right at the tail end of the civil rights or the slave days, because black people couldn't go to school at certain places and things like that. So they created their own colleges, and those colleges have been around forever. And they were founded on good principles, founded on biblical principles and all that. So there's a lot of rituals and ceremonies that they'll still do at these schools. But what I thought was so cool was, I even showed my wife, and my wife was like, that's actually really cool. Like they form a line and stuff, and they're just like welcoming in all of these African-American boys to go to school. And so I thought that was cool because that's opposite of what we typically see. We typically see, black males robbing a bank, killing somebody, doing this, doing that, perpetuating these stereotypes, making black people look scary. But in this video, it actually shows the complete opposite. It shows him going to get an education, going to have success, going completely against what the stereotypes are. And so the reason I brought that up is because that's where a lot of the fear comes from, is what we put out there. That's why I get so mad when I see people resharing videos that aren't educational. Like, why are we just showing videos of people just shooting each other in a public square with there's no context, there's no information about it, there's no, stay away from this. It's just we're showing a video of somebody killing another person, and it's causing us to become desensitized. Usually when I'm putting out a video like that, either I'll cut the part where it's very graphic, or there's education behind what I'm showing you. And so a lot of people's fear of police comes from these places that aren't necessarily reality. Like, yeah, like there's some dangerous situations out there, but that doesn't mean that's what that community is by and large. That doesn't mean that these people that I'm showing you the video of represent the whole, all black people or all Hispanic people or all white people or all Asian people. No, it's just a small percentage of the population. So when she says, oh, we are afraid of CPD and all this other stuff, are you really afraid of CPD, or are you just saying what everybody else likes to say because your son's made a mistake and now you got to find a reason for what they did? And so that's the part that pisses me off.
And their mayor is a trip.
Oh, don't even start.
Chicago's mayor is a trip.
Don't even start on her. She get on my nerves.
She messed the officer's name up. But knew, like, yeah.
Not only did she mess the officer's name up, but then one of her immediate tweets after that incident was, we got to stop the guns. We got to get the guns off our street. Instead, as opposed to acknowledging the fact that this lady was innocently murdered, despite the fact of acknowledging that these officers were heroes, despite acknowledging, the fact that her city has crime levels that are just outrageous, she pinpointed it on the guns. And again, guns are a political agenda. Hey, we have this gun violence. But do you know that Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws, but yet they have some of the most strictest, but they have some of the most violent crimes that occurs with guns in that city? A lot of people don't realize that they have some of the strictest gun laws, but yet they have some of the most violent. It's one of the most violent cities across our country, and so. That tells you right there, it's not necessarily the guns that are the problem, it's the people that are the problem, and how are we fixing this people problem? And then the last thing I'm going to mention before we transition to the end of the podcast is something else I also mentioned at the end of my post was this. I said, do you realize that you are more likely to die from gun violence in Chicago than you are by the police in Chicago? That's a reality.
Oh, it's not even comparable.
Not even comparable.
Yeah.
You are more likely to be killed at the hands of another civilian in the city of Chicago than you are police. But yet, I'm afraid of police. Like, the police are what I'm afraid of, which is why I acted like I acted. And again, that just goes into this narrative that we have to get away from. We have to get away from this narrative that police are the problem. When I was younger, we had this conversation, and this, a lot of black people could probably relate to this because it occurs in households all across the country. But it's this narrative of we have to have the talk about, what to do if you're ever pulled over by police so you don't get killed. And, my dad had a talk with me and stuff like that for rightful reasons. But now being on the other side of it, being a police officer, we have to reimagine and reinvent this talk. The talk has to be one that police aren't your enemy. Police aren't the ones you need to be afraid of. If you do get pulled over by police, cooperate. We could argue it later, but police aren't the enemy. Police are actually here to help us. Police are here to regulate different things. It doesn't mean all police are good, and that's what me and AJ are here for, is to call out those officers that are wrong, that screw up, that tarnish the badge. But just because you have this small percentage of police and population that are bad doesn't make up a majority of the police officers. So we got to reimagine this whole conversation, because when we're having those quote unquote talks at a young age, that right there starts to perpetuate this whole cycle of fear, unhealthy fear of police. That from a young age, we get this unhealthy fear of police early on because my parents had the talk that police are your enemy. Don't talk to police. They're dangerous and this and that. We need to have a healthy talk with our kids about what police are there for, why they're there, what they can do, and all that other stuff. If we really truly care about changing society, we also need to start by changing these conversations that we're having with our kids.
No, I agree. I completely agree, man. It's yeah, you got me. I'm still worked up, man. I'm still wanting to go off about the mayor and like all her regulations and whatnot. But I'll switch gears. I'll switch gears because we don't like to end the podcast on a negative note. So what I want to do, and this is an announcement, not even an announcement, but probably a surprise to Ryan and Billy. What I want to do is like leave our listeners with a challenge, and we've done this before, but like what I want to do different this time is. When you do this challenge, as our listeners or as somebody that's watching this video, I want you to message the It's Needed Facebook group or the It's Needed Instagram page, and just tell us your testimony from when you did this. And my challenge to you is simple. It is very simple. This week, today is Monday, okay? So by Friday, what I want you to do as a law enforcement officer is to get out your car and have a conversation with somebody that doesn't look like you. If you are a black police officer, I want you to get out your car and I want you to talk to a white female or a white male, a Hispanic male, whatever. If you're a white police officer, I want you to get out your car and I want you to talk to somebody black. I want you to talk to somebody Hispanic, somebody who just doesn't look like you. And however that conversation goes, it goes. If it's bad, send us a message. If it's good, send us a message. And what I would like to do is every week I would like to have these challenges. And then the following week, I would like to read these testimonies and or maybe have an audio or video clip of an officer somewhere in the world who tried this and they're sharing their story. And here's why. You hear from us a lot. And I know that sometimes we're repetitive. Just know that we're passionate about this, right? Like we say the same things over and over and over again because it's what's worked for us over and over and over again. So here's my hope is if you start to hear it from other officers throughout the world, that you, the person who's kind of on the fence or somewhat apprehensive to try these things, may step out of your comfort zone and try it. So that's my challenge to you. That's my challenge to you as the listener of this podcast, as the person who's watching this video. I want you to get out of your cruiser. I don't care if it's somebody walking down the street. I don't care if it's a picnic, a barbecue, a basketball game, a rec center, a church function, you name it. I want you to get out of your cruiser and I want you to have a conversation with somebody. That's it. I love it. No direction for the conversation. Hey, how's it going? I'm Officer such and such. I patrol this area. I'd love to get to know the people who are live and or work in the community I serve and see where it goes. I love that. And then don't forget to message us. Yeah, Please don't forget to message us.
We'll be looking for them.
And also too, and if you're not an officer, you can still do it. You can still do this. Get to know somebody.
Find a police officer.
Yep. Find a police officer. Find somebody that you can be in the market and see somebody that don't look like you, but have a conversation and just say, you know what, I want you to tell them, be transparent. It's going to sound weird, but you be transparent. You know what? I don't like where our country's going right now. I think there's too much division, but what I want to do is I want to talk to somebody that may be different from me. It's going to take a lot, but I guarantee you never know. This may be the start of a friendship that might be one of the best friendships you've ever had. This might be the start of something that is huge for you as far as your family. So, I implore you to do that. That would be phenomenal if you could, because.
And if you could get a picture.
Yeah.
If you could get a picture, don't make it weird. If you can't, if you think it'd be weird, don't do it. But if you see the opportunity, say, hey, would you mind if I take a picture? Would you mind if we take a picture together? If you see that opportunity, jump on it. Because 10 years from now, you're going to look at that picture and be like, man, Remember we took that picture? Now we best friends, and we, you know what I mean? And
I love it.
Took was so. Let's make it happen, please. If you listen to this, please do me and us that favor, and try it.
I love it. So, fella, this was just a great episode. And again, this was kind of short. The reason it's short today is because today is my kid's first day of school. So I got to be there to wish them a good day and make sure that they have a phenomenal day with their friends and stuff like that.
Cry. He gonna cry.
Nah, bro.
You got a box of tissues in the car.
Kimberly
gonna cry.
Kimberly, right? She's a crier, bro. She be mad because I don't be crying about nothing. She be like, dang, you don't cry about nothing. Nah. I'm like, nah, baby, I'm tough. I'm just playing. You can cry and be tough. You can cry.
You be watching American Idol, crying your eyes out, bro. Stop lying.
So,
X Factor, Billy, golden buzzer.
Yeah, whatever. Do you have any thoughts about today, what we talked about?
No, I mean, I think she probably believes what she was talking about, but I also think she made the video hoping like Sean King or Snoop Dogg or one of those blue check marks would share it. I feel like that's why she made it.
Yeah, she probably made it for the airtime. So
valid point.
But anyways, what do you call it? That being said, this was a good episode. I hate to end.
We got a guest coming in hot though. So we got a guest coming. Was that next week, Ryan?
Yeah, we got a guest coming in probably next week. It's gonna be a good one. We're gonna talk about the other side, actually, the other side of law enforcement. People that have gotten in trouble for maybe righteous or unrighteous reasons within the profession. So we will do that. But we appreciate you guys so much. We got to bring back One Has to Go. We haven't done it in a couple weeks, so we'll do that. I was gonna thank you guys for listening to the last time, and shout out to those. Somebody hit me up last week and was like, "Man, what happened, man? You guys haven't been recording on Mondays, but I always look for it on Mondays and stuff." So it's been summertime, guys. So because AJ went back to work, and there's just been a lot of things that have been happening. So we've been trying to make sure we get it to you guys on Mondays. But if not, you can always no later than Tuesday for sure. So but we appreciate you guys for sticking around with us, and with that being said, we love y'all and we'll see y'all next week.
Peace.